Dear audience, I am happy to present my progress during my PhD studies on treatment of acute ischemic stroke. I am Esra Joube. I am a PhD student at the Department of Neurology, and my vision is to ensure a universal access to early stroke treatment, enable patients to live a disability-free life. And my mission is to advance stroke prevention and treatment through dedicated research. These are my two specific goals, which I aim to complete through the methodology of systematic review and meta-analysis. My first project is association of flare positivity with worse outcomes after intravenous thrombolysis in known-onset strokes. In 2019, there were more than 10 million incident cases of stroke and more than 100 million prevalent cases of stroke. Intravenous thrombolysis remained the key treatment for this issue. However, it is associated with the risk of symptomatic intracranial hemorrhage and up to 34% risk of any type of hemorrhage. Magnetic resonance imaging and fluid attenuated inversion recovery, or FLAIR, is routinely used to estimate infarct age, and FLAIR-positive stroke are associated with blood-brain barrier disruption and deeper ischemia. So FLAIR signal might play a role in predicting clinical outcomes after intravenous thrombolysis. Our aim is to evaluate whether FLAIR positivity is associated with worse outcome after thrombolysis in known-onset strokes. So our clinical question is FLAIR positivity associated with worse clinical outcomes among known-onset stroke patients who undergo intravenous thrombolysis within the standard time window. Our populations are stroke patients treated with IVT, and we will compare the patients who had the FLAIR-positive lesion and those who had a FLAIR-negative lesion. Our main outcomes are hemorrhagic transformation and less favorable 90-day functional outcome. We hypothesize that FLAIR positivity is associated with worse clinical outcomes in known-onset stroke patients who undergo IVT. Here is our search key, which we conducted in 3 databases, and we ended up with almost 10,000 records. After screening for the studies, we included 6 of them in the final meta-analysis. So this is our PRISMA flowchart of study selection. Our first outcome was hemorrhagic transformation, which was the presence of hemorrhagic transformation in the ischemic lesion in the imaging 24 hours after the treatment. We found that the odds of having a hemorrhagic transformation was 3 times higher in the group of the patients who had a FLAIR-positive lesion. We also found that a significant association of having a FLAIR-positive lesion and a less favorable functional outcome, which was measured through a modified Rankin score at 90 days. Moreover, we pooled the sensitivity and the specificity of the FLAIR status, and also the sensitivity and specificity for the less favorable functional outcome. This is the progress. We have completed the manuscript, and our conclusion is that FLAIR positivity is associated with less favorable functional outcome, and there is a trend toward higher hemorrhagic transformation risk in stroke patients undergoing IVT within the standard time window. The implication for practice would be that the FLAIR would be useful in risk assessment and clinical decision making. It would help in predicting the outcomes of this patient and would help us in post-thrombolysis management as specifying or classifying which patient would need a more intensive care treatment and in which we would expect better outcomes. Implications for research would be that we need further prospective studies. We need adjusted analysis to evaluate whether FLAIR acts as a single predictor or in association with other predictors. We need external validation from bigger cohorts and stratification based on stroke severity. We have completed the manuscript, and right now our manuscript, we have submitted it into Neuroimage Clinical, and we are waiting for the first response. Our second project is bridging therapy versus direct endovascular thrombectomy in basilar artery stroke. Posterior circulation strokes are associated with severe neurological outcomes and the potential risk of fatality. The basilar artery occlusion strokes, which stem from the posterior circulation, exhibit mortality, high mortality and morbidity if left untreated. Intravenous thrombolysis yields insufficient acute reperfusion rates. Therefore, endovascular thrombectomy is the most promising therapeutic option. Recent studies have shown that bridging these two treatments results in higher reperfusion rates and better clinical outcomes. So our aim is to complete these two treatments, the clinical outcomes and the mortality rates among acute basilar artery stroke patients who undergo bridging therapy and direct EVT. Our clinical question is, does bridging intravenous thrombolysis and endovascular thrombectomy results in better outcomes than direct EVT among basilar artery stroke patients? Our population would be patients who had a basilar artery stroke, and we would compare the bridging therapy and the direct EVT. Our outcomes would be the efficacy outcome, like 90-day functional outcome, functional independence, 90-day independent ambulation, and successful recanalization. Safety outcomes would be symptomatic intracranial hemorrhage, intracranial hemorrhage, and 90-day mortality. We hypothesized that the bridging therapy is superior to direct EVT in treatment of acute basilar artery stroke. We conducted a systematic search in 5 databases, and we ended up with more than 6,000 studies and 59 studies included in our final meta-analysis. This is the PRISMA chart of our study selection. The first outcome is functional independence, which is measured by the modified Rankin score at scale at 90 days from 0 to 2, and we found that the odds of having a functional independence at 90 days is significantly higher in the patient group treated with bridging therapy compared to the EVT. We also find a significant that the bridging therapy is significantly superior to direct EVT concerning the independent ambulation. We did not find the significant differences regarding the successful recanalization, symptomatic intracranial hemorrhage, or any intracranial hemorrhage. However, we found significantly lower mortality rates among patients who underwent bridging therapy compared to those who underwent direct EVT. We also conducted a subgroup analysis regarding the first outcome, the functional independence, and we found that the bridging therapy is significantly better for treatment either for basilar artery occlusion or for the groups studies that included vertebral and basilar artery occlusion too. The treatment benefit was seen also in studies conducted in Asia and also those in Europe and North America. It was also, the treatment benefit was seen also in patients who were treated within early window and those within the late window. And we found a benefit in treatment of the stroke on moderate and moderate to severe strokes. We have completed the manuscript, and in conclusion, the bridging IVT to EVT for patients with basilar artery occlusion leads to higher rate of functional independence and lower mortality rate without increasing the rate of intracranial hemorrhage compared to direct EVT. Our implication for research would be that we need stratified randomization based on clinical factors such as stroke severity and time from symptom onset to treatment, adaptive trials which would identify patient subgroup most likely to benefit from this treatment, and longer-term follow-up. We have completed our study, and in the latest we have submitted in stroke and vascular neurology, and we are waiting for the first response. In conclusion, these are our 2 projects which we aim to complete by this year with a successful publication. I want to conclude my presentation with a quote by Miller Fisher: "We learn neurology stroke by stroke." Thank you.
In your first project, you started with 9,000 articles and you end up with six suitable articles. useful article. How does it come? And if you have only 6 articles, your statement is strong enough?
Yeah, one of the limitations of our study is the low number of articles. We had this low number of articles because there are not many studies looking for flare in the known-onset strokes. In the existing study, flare was more utilized in wake-up strokes, where they do compare the flare and DVI lesions to find whether there is a tissue or a salvageable tissue at risk in these cases. However, it's not usually utilized in known-onset strokes. Therefore, most of the studies were excluded, and we ended up only with 6.
Since your progress is pretty impressive, who's your supervisor? András?
No, Bence Gunda.
Gunda. Aren't you planning any original trials, or you have a lot of time for your PhD? So.
No, actually, we're waiting now for the studies to be successfully accepted and then maybe continue with the thesis.
Of course, continue for your PhD thesis, yes, but no more work with clinical work or clinical trials, or?
No, very well. I was involved also in an original study which is outside of the CTM in my department, but no other study.
Yeah.